Good evening, Oakland and beyond, or wherever the bloody hell you are tuning in from out there in the beyond. It's another Thursday after a nice little week off, an unscheduled week off last week. Got a lot to talk about here coming at you on a 2-week recap edition of your number one source for everything and anything on your Oakland Athletics. Oh, and by the way, it's also our belated 510 day edition of your number one source for everything and anything on your Oakland Athletics. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to yet another exciting rendition of AsFAnRAdio. Hope everybody's doing good out there in A's land and beyond. It is the legally 5150 Corporal Oaktown coming at you from Dub 6 Studios in the Eastmont Hills of Oakland, California. And for the third time since we've been doing shows as of late, another doubleheader broadcast for yours truly here on twitch.tv/AsFAnRadios. Of course, I did the 19th edition of the Bear Raid solo earlier in the day. And, of course, now we're coming at you here at 8 p.m. with the flagship podcast, show number 307 of AsFAnRadio. Another day up here in the East Bay, just trying to kick back, chill, handle my business, keep my mind straight as always. Those of you that know me obviously saw a post that I put out a couple days ago, which will be centered around my final thought that I'll be giving at the end of the show. Pretty much was the same final thought I also had during the Bear Raid. So got that later on. Obviously got 2 weeks worth of Oakland Athletics games to get caught up on. And, of course, a whole lot more coming at you before this night wraps up here in the East Bay and beyond. I'm not alone for this edition of the show, as I am, of course, joined by the other half of what's become known as the dynamic duo here on AFR. Checking in, of course, from the Boss Pad in Alameda is the main man, the Boss Man. Boss, what up?
What's happening, man? Chilling. Mid-May. Hopefully the weather gets better because this weather's been weird. We're still in like the 60-degree realm, which is very weird. But when we get to the 70s, like high 70s, low 80s, maybe I can hop in a pool or something, though. But, everything is everything. I'm happy to be here. A lot to try to catch up on. It's just been a real interesting time in Oakland. Let's just say that.
Definitely no doubt on that. Real quickly, before we get into tonight's shenanigans, I should say, here on tonight's edition of the show, two real quick things. One, obviously, with the 2 weeks worth of recap and a whole bunch of stuff, and you know how that can end up dragging the show beyond the normal 2 hours that it can go sometimes. We will be foregoing the Down on the Farm segment during the second half of tonight's edition of the show. That will return when we come at you next week with the next edition of the show. And even though obviously it's been almost 2 weeks since their season wrapped up, we will be doing a San Jose Sharks segment during the second half of the show as well, since obviously on the last podcast, with them only having one game left, I kind of booted it out of the last broadcast in favor of doing the Sonic the Hedgehog 2 review the last time we came at you. So again, no Down on the Farm segment tonight. We will resume what's up with the minor league teams on next week's show, and we'll be doing a belated final 2021-2022 San Jose Sharks recap before that goes into hibernation when the hockey season resumes later on in the fall/winter in these parts. Before we get into game recap action, obviously, and has been the case with a lot of the shows as of late, the latest going on, of course, with the Howard Terminal project. As many of you, of course, know, the BCDC vote is literally almost around the corner. It's going to be snapping, it's going to be here pretty much. June 30th is when that's going to happen. Public meeting going down on June the 2nd, which myself and a bunch of others will be attending, since apparently they're open back up now for public meetings. So, yep, y'all knew it is that ultimately yours truly is inevitable, and we'll be planning on speaking unless something ends up changing with that between now and then. But obviously, since we didn't come at you in a little over 2 weeks, we're going to go ahead and bring you up to speed on some stuff that went down on May the 3rd, and that's in regards to what the staff to the BCDC is recommending as far as this goes. Boss, why don't you go ahead and bring everyone up to speed on what that recommendation is?
Oh, gosh, well, where to start? We've been going over this ad nauseum, I think, with each other on Facebook and on Twitter. I don't have Instagram, no thanks, but long story short, they painted either a slow growth scenario or a moderate growth scenario to where there is enough room pretty much to where the port operations and other threatening things that the East Oakland Stadium Alliance and other crybabies have done. A lot of those things were kind of like mitigated in that thing. I mean, there's a 96-day report now. They said the growth will increase this at a moderate rate. So they're saying there's like 22 acres of port land for all types of cargo. I mean, if you remember before, they were saying, I believe, that there's other parts of the port where, I don't know, it was 100 acres that could be used for that they don't want to use for some reason. But, the staff basically said that, removing, HT from the port priority use thing, it's not going to take away from the region's ability to, meet some of that growth in cargo. I mean, Howard Terminal is 55 acres, and if you do the turning basin, there's going to be 10 acres at least taken off if you have to try to mitigate that. So what are they really talking about? There's not a lot of depth over in the water right there in the estuary to handle some of the bigger ships. So we're beginning to see a problem. So they basically said the Seaport Advisory Committee or whatever they had, David Lewis of Save the Bay, basically said that they go to Antioch. There's other places where some of that extra cargo could be at. There's something called roll. That's the roll-on, roll-off situation. So, I mean, it's a lot of real big nerd stuff that's in a 96-page report, but it was a positive thing. I mean, the mayor was happy, Dave Calvin was happy, pretty sure John Fisher was happy, A's fans in general were happy. And a lot of times with the staff recommendation, it bodes well. Now, I've been told from my sources, we'll see if it's true, because people are not always correct. Nobody's 100% correct. Life doesn't work that way. But I heard that the vote on the 30th is a slam dunk. Big time slam dunk. And that bodes well for what our main objective is. We want Howard Terminal to happen. We want to keep the A's in the city of Oakland because we think that this is just a win-win for all involved. So, I mean, and I want to give kudos to Casey Pratt. Casey Pratt did such a phenomenal job last week breaking things down. I mean, he also did a little tour of Howard Terminal. It's funny in my conversations with him, he said he was surprised at how small it really was. It's sizable for baseball and all the development, but, you're thinking that it's super huge, super big, because you have the truckers and the longshoremen who are making such a big fuss about it. So, you're thinking to yourself, hey, man, there's a reason why they're acting like this, man. Don't dismiss them. Don't try to shun them or whatever, But he's seeing, all right, this is not going to be really in the way of things. And if you guys see our opponents, which is the EOSA and these others out here, these people who wanted to stop any type of progress, they're no longer saying that in the middle of a port nonsense, because they can't. I mean, they literally can't. And what's even better is was a few days after, or was it the day after, they had the Bay Area Council. They had Liz Ortega, Mayor Libby Schaff, Jim Wonderman, Ed Calvin. They had Christine McKinney speak. Now, that was powerful. Was it May 5th? I think it might have been May 5th. It was a few days after. But, they pretty much just poo-pooed on any ideas of this being used for a port. It's nothing but a staging area. It's basically a parking lot. And in my opinion, this is just my opinion, I really feel that they want to keep Howard Terminal as is because it can cover up some of the stuff that they're doing, illegal or not. But somebody's getting away with something, whether it's stealing time, sitting back, chilling. Also, people use it as a parking lot so they can just chill out, like, yeah, we're going to collect the check from their other jobs. And, hey, so we're just messing with the flow of things, I would think, when you have that. I mean, I look back at what Casey Pratt, I'm going to what he tweeted, but he said the applicant has demonstrated that removing Howard Terminal from port priority use would not detract from the region's capability to meet projected growth in cargo, and has demonstrated that the cargo forecast can be met with existing terminals. So pretty much they can keep working as is, bringing in all the goods and supplies, being that economic engine, as they say, for Northern California. It wouldn't stop it. So from what I know that probably the public, so to speak, as you just said, coming up in a few weeks, really less than a month, June 2nd, and they're going to be out in front of people. That's going to be pretty contentious. And you're going to have the 30th. All in all, people, they pretty much took a shit on that damn advisory committee. It's very good and it bodes well. So now, I think it's really about the development of it. Obviously, you have to get to about 6 weeks? You obviously have to get through that and get the 18 needed votes. But you are really going to need the development agreement done some point afterwards. Now, there is fear from Dave Campbell that's going to get into election season. I personally don't think anything's going to happen in the summer, given that we have June 30th, the date for the BCDC. And then on top of things, the city of Oakland moves slow. So I think after July 26th, they're going to go on recess and come back after, I think Labor Day. Then we're going to really get deep into the political season, seeing who's going to win District 2, who's going to win District 4, District 6, and who's going to win ultimately the mayoral race. And even who wins District 3, the county race. So that has Rebecca Kaplan and a few other people. So, I mean, I think that this is good, but there's still some ways to go. There are other things to go. But if you don't get the BCDC vote, none of this shit matters. But what were your thoughts on it? What do you think, O'Keefe? I can talk all day about it.
Well, I definitely love the fact that recommendation, not just to piggyback on a lot of the stuff that you said, solidified arguments that we have brought up on this show for years, since the time that Howard Terminal has been seriously looked at the team, and even before the A's looked at it, some of the stuff that we've brought up with that site, prior to the A's selecting this as their potential future home back in November of 2018 or whatever it was. It seems like it was eons ago at this point. One thing, just looking at some of the little notes and somewhat that I got over here on my end, and this kind of piggies back to when the Seaport Committee made that recommendation against removing the port designation from Howard Terminal. In making that recommendation at the time, BCDC staff acknowledged that its analyst was rushed by the existence of AB 1191 legislation authored by then Assemblymember Rob Botana and voted into law that requires BCDC to make a finding about Howard Terminal's port priority use within 140 days after the Oakland City Council certifies the ballpark project's final EIR. Of course, for those of y'all that may have forgotten, the City Council certified the final EIR on February the 17th, meaning that technically the deadline for the BCDC on all this stuff was July 7th. So, ha at you, David Lewis, and all you other haters. And just out of curiosity, has David Lewis said anything since this happened? I haven't been checking on his page lately, but I know you like to snoop around when it comes to stuff like that.
Wait, who?
The Save the Bay knucklehead. Or has he literally been crickets?
Oh, you're talking about David Lewis?
Yeah.
I haven't looked lately after I initially trolled him and I messed with him and stuff, though. I haven't. You know what? Why not just go look up right now, though, huh?
Of course, you would go and look up and do that. While Boss is in the middle of doing that, of course, that 96-page staff report that he mentioned is also linked here. Some of the stuff I'm looking at, so I'll make sure at some point after tonight's show, since I'm going to have to be up editing not only the final and full version of this show, but the full final version and the YouTube version of this show, but the YouTube version and full version of the Bear Raid. I'll go ahead and throw that 96-page staff report link up there in case any of y'all missed it, or those of you that have looked at it already want a refresher. So I definitely am highly proud of that. Obviously through conversations the two of us have had, it's encouraging to hear potentially that the vote can be a slam dunk, but hey, things can change. It is possible. We'd rather that it stay in the positive direction, but we'll see ultimately as time goes on.
Well, very important. Casey did say this is a kind of preliminary thing that they can always change it back, but come on, let's really be honest though. And when I look at the one David Lewis's Twitter, I'm not really seeing anything. Not really seeing anything.
Crickets, as we would say in the Marine Corps.
yeah, definitely crickets. The guy here is more quiet than a mouse up in church, man. Real quiet. So it's pretty funny how he tries to do anything he can to derail it. I mean, even you being a part of Save Debate and part of the Seaport Advisory Committee, you calling in on public forum, knowing that you are, somebody who was appointed to that position, and you have a different level than the rest of us when it comes to this. On the public forum, it should be for the public people. You didn't need to take that time to go up in there and try to throw salt on this situation. But you know what that shows? Desperation. If I've heard that it's a slam dunk, then he knows. Then if he knows, now we know, that means the BCDC is going to push this on through, man.
And shout out, as always, of course, to our good friend Casey Pratt. If you haven't had a chance to check it out yet, definitely head over to his Twitter page when you got the free time and check out the little video that he put together of his little tour of Howard Terminal he did the other day. Pretty sure he pissed off the usual haters and usual suspects out there that want to hate on this project or think this project is a scam. I'm not going to mention names. Y'all know who we're talking about out there, and others out there that may not be well known that like to do that. But definitely check that out. Definitely, as we get closer to June the 2nd, any information going out there as far as going out there, if you want to take part in what myself and others are doing, if it does turn out to still be the case that the public's going to actually be able to go in down there, then I'll put up all that info out there. And of course, as always, the usual sources to turn to outside of us: Casey Pratt, Oakland Stadium Watch Baseball Oakland, and a whole bunch of others out there to get up-to-date info on this. Boss, any final thoughts on this before we get into recapping the last 2 weeks' worth of Oakland Athletics game action?
Okay, people. We got good news. I'm not out the woods yet, but it's positive. When you go June 2nd, and especially June 30th, go there, speak your points. Everybody don't regurgitate what everybody else says. Have some strong points. We need to show that A's fans, not only are they rabid, but they make a lot of sense. They're very intellectual when it comes to speaking about the things that they're passionate about, which are the A's staying in Oakland. Don't be baited by the other side. They're going to try to argue. They might even try to get into your face. Walk the hell away. Walk the hell away. Don't get into no argument, match like, bye. I have nothing to say to you. About our jobs. No. It's just been proven that you guys are on the job. That report is fake. But if everything's fake if it's against you, but if it's for you, it's all real. Just like your fraud survey, where 76% say they're against, so-called taxpayer funds coming to this. I mean, you guys just walk away. Say, I'm here, putting it from my side, putting it down from my side. It's my right as an American citizen to do this. Let me have my opinion. Goodbye. Nothing to say to you. And if they want to touch you, somebody like me, I don't mind squabbling, but, I'm probably getting too old now, 40 to be wanting to fight. So, call the cops. Say, hey, don't touch me. Get away from my personal space. Get away from me. Or say, you're just mad because you can't swim off the top anymore. I mean, whatever. Someone just get away from me. Don't go out there fighting people. Ignore them. Walk away. If somebody tries to get physical, go call the man on them. Press assault charges. How's that assault charge going to look for you, Mr. ILW trucker, tugboat guy? If you're assaulting people over about this, they'll lose their job. For real. So that's all I got to say, guys. Be careful out there.
And I definitely will echo those same statements as well, and will probably repeat some of those very same lines with whoever I end up rolling with over there on that day. So, of course, as always, between now and then, be sure to keep your eyes and ears open to our social media pages or some of the others out there that of course, to follow to keep up to date on matters with the Howard Terminal Project. Let's go ahead now and get into the usual shindigs here in the first half of the show, as, of course, with taking a unscheduled off week last week, we'll be recapping 2 weeks' worth of Oakland Athletics baseball action with you here on tonight's show. We'll have to obviously see if Boss will be here for that entirety or, however far we get before, 9 o'clock rolls around, he has to punch out for the night. So, of course, we're going to go ahead and begin things here with the recap segments by rewinding the clock back to April the 29th, the day after the last time we came at you here on AsFAnRadio, in which, of course, the A's played a 3-game series to kick off a homestand at home against the now rebranded Cleveland Guardians. Here's what went down in Game 1 of that 3-game series back on April the 29th. Cleveland would score first in that contest when they would plant 1 run in the top of the first inning. Your Oakland Athletics would answer back with a 4-run spot in the bottom of that first inning, a lead that would only last until the top of the third, when Cleveland would retake the lead with a 4-run spot of their own. The A's would regain the lead in the bottom of the fourth with a 2-run spot, and then add on 2 more runs in the bottom of the sixth, but unfortunately they would have nothing but goose eggs over the course of the final 3 frames of this one. Cleveland would drop a 4-run spot on the Oakland pitching staff in the 7th inning to win this one by the final of 9-8. Cleveland 9 runs, 11 hits, no errors. Oakland 8 runs, 10 hits, and no errors in this one. Stephan picking up the win for the Guardians. He improves to 2-0 on the year, while AsFAnRAdio took the loss for Oakland, falling to 0-1 on the year, and Clace picking up his 3rd save of the year for the Guardians in this one. Home runs in this contest over on the Guardians side, you had Ramirez hit his 7th of the year, Jimenez hit his 2nd of the year, and Naylor hit his 2nd of the year as well. Murph Doggy Dog Sean Murphy was the lone Athletic to go deep in this one, his 4th Ding Dong Doodle of 2022. Boss, are you still there?
Yeah.
Okay.
I had it on mute. Sorry, somebody came in here and I was trying to talk. This was a maddening game. So you see the A's offense coming out like gangbusters, coming out swinging, scoring 4 runs. Just to a few innings later in the 3rd inning, give up the lead immediately. Then you come back the next inning, you score 2 runs. Then later on, you get more insurance runs. Then the 7th inning, AsFAnRAdio just absolutely got clapped. And obviously you couldn't do nothing in the last 3 frames that they're giving up the lead because, the A's are not really that good of a hitting team. But if you have 10 hits and 8 runs, you can see we should have won the ball game. The A's didn't. So, that puts you at 10-10. You were, feeling good about yourselves as you have a 500 record through 19 games. You think, hey, team might not be half bad, but this was an ugly loss, and you try to wipe yourself, off, wipe the dust off, and you got a 1 o'clock game the next day.
That 1 o'clock game, of course, would be the game that would close out the month of April for your Oakland Athletics. A game in which, of course, yours truly ended up going to the game on free tickets as a result of one of 4 dates offered to veterans of the military this year by the A's. So thank you to the A's, even though I'm kind of loosely pissed off with you for obvious reasons for hooking myself and fellow military vets up with free tickets for A's games this year. And here's what went down in that Saturday afternoon contest that yours truly was a part of in person at the Coliseum back on April the 30th. It was a low-scoring one, pretty much on that Saturday afternoon at the Coliseum. The Guardians would score first with 1 run in the bottom of the 4th. Oakland would tie it up with 1 in the bottom of the 5th, and then it would basically be a stalemate from that point on until the 9th inning when the Guardians were able to break through with 2 runs in the top of the 9th. The A's weren't able to do jack diddly squat in the bottom of the 9th and fall to the Guardians in this one by the final of 3-1. Cleveland 3 runs, 9 hits, 1 error. Oakland 1 run, 8 hits, and 1 error in this one. Sandelin picking up the win for the the Guardians. My bad. There I go. Wanting to call them by their own name again. Dummy, stupido. The Guardians picking up the win for the Guardians, improving to 1-1 on the year. Dangerous Danny Jimenez, unfortunately, getting tagged with the L in this one for the Green and Gold, falls to 1-1 on the year, and Clace picks up his 4th save of the year for Cleveland in this one. No home runs for the Guardians in this one. The lone home run for your Oakland Athletics coming off the bat of an individual that y'all already know that myself, Bossman, and Ken Korek are happy to see back in the Green and Gold. Sheldon Noisy hitting his 2nd bomb of 2022 in this one. The unfortunately only bright spot in a 8-hit game for your A's. So, yeah. Gays end up going 1 game under 500 after this L.
Well, I'll say this. Sheldon Noisy was the lone bright spot as far as the offense goes. I love the way he's hitting. I really enjoy, as a guy who, when I play baseball, love to go opposite field. He's excellent at doing that. He's showing power. I wish he would have showed it a couple of years ago, but look, everybody takes time. Hitting in the major leagues is very difficult. In my opinion, the most difficult thing you can do in all professional sports. But I thought him getting that home, that was a nice little dinger he hit. Caught the ball up in the zone off Shane Bieber, who pitched magnificently against the A's. But the other bright spot for the A's, man, Cole Irvin has pitched well this year. You telling me that southpaw is not pitching some gems? He's hardly giving up any runs. He's getting no run support. And again, no run support. A's are doing nothing. And what's worse than that is the error by Nick Allen, and you were not able to get the double play when you need it. And that led to Palacios getting a nice bang into the left center field gap. And, you just knew, like, oh, man, are they in a tailspin? That's the first thing you're thinking to yourself. You're 10-11, and you were feeling good at the end of April. Now it's the beginning of May coming up, and you're seeing this is where the next 2 months where teams kind of start to separate and show if they're playoff worthy or not, or if they're at least going to be competitive. And these losses were bad losses. One, you blew a big lead, and then the next day you're in a tight game, and your defense, which has been pretty much an Achilles heel, which we're not accustomed to seeing for the last couple of years, it's now a real weak spot of the team. So tough loss, real tough loss, man.
I really, by the way, wonder at times if, given the fact that, for those of you that don't know, Cole Irvin is the only current active member of the A's roster that actually follows this very show that y'all are doing right now. It's a conversation the boss and I were having the other day. I really do wonder at times if Cole goes and tells the guys in the clubhouse, hey, y'all better get your heads out of your butts. The dynamic duo are talking shit about y'all on AsFAnRAdio again.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to really talk a big trash on this team because let's just face it, guys. We know this roster got depleted unjustly. We know that they're tanking for a myriad of reasons, and we all have our own opinions on it. But we know this team is not trying to be built to win this year, next year, or the year after that. I don't really believe that. I mean, they're trying to build young for the future, supposedly. But we just know this team is not good. So that's why you want to see the team win, but it doesn't hurt as much when you see Chapman. When you were seeing Chapman, Olsen, and, the other guys who were there for years with that team. I mean, it's just it's a difficult thing, man. You know, having Bassett and all those other guys, Mania. It's a different feeling when you don't expect anything, but you kind of get hope in the first month, and you end off what is it, 10 and 11 after looking like you were about to be holding it down and have a winning record. It's difficult, man. Difficult.
Yeah, probably a year where really probably the only member of the team that's going to get dogged by us as long as he's here is cough, cough, he who shall not be named, and y'all know who I'm talking about in regards to that. Let's go ahead and take a look at what went down in the finale of this 3-game set between your Oakland Athletics and the Cleveland Guardians, and that was, of course, the final game of that series, but the first game to open up the month of May for the Green and Gold. Let's see what went down on that Sunday afternoon at the Oakland Coliseum. Cleveland would score early and often in this one, as they would score 1 run in the top of the second, 4 runs in the top of the third, and 1 run in the top of the fourth, before putting up a goose egg finally in the top of the fifth and scoring ultimately what would be their final run of the contest in the bottom of the sixth. The A's waited until the bottom of the ninth to finally get some damn runs on the board. It would be all for naught, as they will only muster 3 in the bottom half of the ninth frame, and of course lose and get swept by the Guardians by the final of 7-3. Cleveland 7 runs, 9 hits, no errors. Oakland 3 runs, 6 hits, and 2 errors in this one. McKenzie picking up the win for the Guardians, improving to 1-2 on the year. James Kaprielian taking the loss for Oakland. He falls to 1-0 on the year. This was also his first start of the year in this contest. Let's see here. No home runs by the Guardians in this one. No homers by the A's in this one. Kaprielian only went 2 innings in this one, gave up 3 hits, 4 runs, all 4 of them being earned, 4 walks, 2 strikeouts, and, that pretty much was all that was needed by the Guardians to secure the sweep for them in this one.
Oh, God. I mean, this is bad. James Kaprielian, we were wanting to see what he did because he showed some flashes last year as his first start. Didn't go well. I mean, the first inning was pretty all right, but once he got into the second and third innings, it was pretty obvious his stuff was not working. I mean, Framil Reyes got on him, Naylor. It just, there was a wild pitch and stuff. Before you look up, you're down 5-0 on the verge of being swept at home by a team who has one of the most funniest and jeered upon names that we've heard in recent memory in the MLB. The goddamn Guardians of the goddamn Galaxy. This is hard.
They should have been named the fucking Spiders, man. Stupid bitch. That's for Ballistic Bill, by the way, so who hasn't chimed in for a while.
Spiders would have been fine, but the Guardians, Guardians of what? Man, definitely having a World Series title. 1954, you know what I'm saying? Seriously though, what was it, 1948 or 54, one of those. But it's it's been a real long time since you've done anything. So what are you Guardians of? I mean, Spiders, Cleveland Spiders, I thought would have been cool. You probably could have had a cool little design, but that nonetheless doesn't matter. It's still Cleveland's baseball team. And they came in there and they beat the A's ass. I don't even count the 3 runs that the A's scored in the ninth. What? You were down 7-0 at home to a team who's not really good. So if they're not really good, what does that say about you?
After, of course, getting swept in that 3-game series by the Guardians, and by the way, yes, normally this would be where we would take our first break of the night, but if y'all were expecting the first break of the night, you've been misled. We still got one more series to recap before we take our first break of the night here on show number 307. That series, of course, being the final 3 games of that homestand, which the A's, of course, played host to the Tampa Bay Rays over the course of those 3 games. Here's what went down in the first game of that 3-game series back on Monday, May the 2nd. Tampa Bay would score first in this one with 1 run in the top of the first, The A's would tie it up with 1 run of their own in the bottom of the second, and then offensively wouldn't do jack diddly dookie for the rest of the way out in this one. The Rays, on the other hand, 2 runs in the top of the third, 2 runs in the top of the fourth, and their final run of the contest coming in the top of the fifth as the Rays open up this series with a win over the Oakland Athletics by a final of 6-1. Tampa Bay 6 runs, 11 hits, no errors. Oakland 1 run, 2 hits, and they booted the ball around the diamond 2 times in this one. Rasmussen picking up the win for Tampa Bay in this one, improving to 2-1 on the year. The Cal alumni Dalton Jeffries taking the loss for Oaktown in this one. He falls to 1-4 on the year. Home runs in this one. The only home run was hit by a Ray in this contest, and that, of course, was the second homer of the year for Yanni Diaz.
So, you remember the A's surprised everybody taking 3 or 4, really just handing the Rays their ass down there at Tropicana Field. Well, the Rays were really motivated to come out here because, you don't play these teams, West Coast teams too much if you're all the way out in Florida. So if they embarrass you once earlier this year in your ballpark, you're really looking to get back even, especially knowing that there's nobody sitting in the damn stands on a Monday night for the Rays in Oakland. So you're really just going to put salt in the wound. But Yandy Diaz, a leadoff home run in Oakland, is something I cannot get used to. If you guys remember, 2019 wild card game against Sean Manaea, he hit 2 home runs, but he started the game off with one, and you saw that, and you're like, oh, shit. Like Bob Uecker did, oh, shit. In Major League 2, that's exactly how you felt. And you're like, this is not going to go well. Young sensation, what's the guy? Wander or Franco, whatever the hell his name is, right? He got in the act. Manuel Margot did. Don Jeffries was not good. I mean, it was a pretty bad night. And obviously, our lineup is really not strong. I mean, a lot of guys doing donut or getting just one. I mean, the A's had two total hits in the game. 2 total hits. That's not going to get it done for a Major League Ball club if they're going to be good for the year. These guys, some of these guys on the team are not obviously a part of the future. For these young guys, you've been playing baseball all your lives. Man, you're going to have to hit the ball. You have to put barrel to ball. Knock it square. Don't do launch angle. At least try to get some contact and some solid contact and get some base hits. 2 hits, you literally did nothing. Rasmussen had his way with you from the jump. Bad outing, disgusting to watch on Monday night. Glad I wasn't there.
Here is what went down in Game 2 of that 3-game series between Tampa Bay and Oakland. This contest, of course, taking place back on Tuesday, May the 3rd. Tampa Bay would score first yet again in this series, scoring the hold on here. God, I hate when this happens. Well, it's showing here for me the 2 runs in the top of the second on this one because of the fact that this contest ended up going into extra innings. But Tampa would get 2 in the second. Pretty much, I want to say I think the A's put up 7 in that first. I'm guessing they had to have put up 7 in that first inning. They put up 5. Okay, my bad. But I'm getting a little ahead of myself. So the A's put up 5 in the bottom of the first inning, and just unfortunately they have the first inning cut off here on the box score on my end. So basically the Tampa Bay Rays slowly after that worked their way back into the game, tied it up in the top of the 9th to force extra innings, scored 5 runs in the top of the 10th. The A's could only muster 2 in the bottom of the 10th and lose this contest in extras by the final of 10-7. Tampa Bay 10 runs, 14 hits, no error. Oakland 7 runs, 10 hits, and no errors. By the way, MLB.com, be nice if you'd put the little arrows back in there so we can pull up the first inning so I'm not sitting here screwing up the box score on here, you bastards. But yeah, 10-7 Tampa Bay, the final in this one. Kittredge picking up the win for the Rays in this one, improving to 2-0 on the year. He who shall not be named takes the L for Oaktown in this one, falling to 0-2 on the year and a 12-plus inflated ERA. God, I wish they'd just get rid of that knucklehead already. Home runs in this one, Phillips hitting his second of the year, and Zunino hitting his second of the year as well for the Tampa Bay side. Smith hitting the lone home run for the A's in this contest.
Oh, God, man. I mean, you go up, you're feeling good after there's a grand slam. You score 5 runs in the first inning. You're like, okay, but you did nothing for pretty much the rest of the game. Can't keep having donuts, donut. Maybe if you're a super fat, you can. But goddamn it, there's donuts and baseball. I'm like, no, these some crooked numbers up in there, man. And you didn't get it done. Kirby Snead giving up that home run to, was it Zanino or whatever? If my memory serves me correct. Like, you just knew it as soon as it hit the bat. You're like, God, the luck is not there this year. The losing streak continues. And then you're tired, and then all of a sudden, Zerk Trevino gets out there, has that absolutely befuddled look on his face, and just commences to walking guys getting smacked around. I mean, it was a real terrible, terrible loss. Because conceivably, you're supposed to win. You're supposed to win. You're up 5-3. Come on, you got to throw that slider like that. Slider like it had no real bend or break to it. Oh, God. That's just a tough, tough loss for this young team. Hopefully they'll grow from it, but, oh, my God, did they ever come back with a vengeance out to Oakland?
And if you were expecting things to go the A's way in the finale of this 3-game series, it didn't. And speaking of donuts, that's pretty much all the A's did in the finale of the 3-game series on Star Wars Day, Wednesday, May the 4th. Donuts for runs across all 9 frames. The Rays just only needed to put up a 3 spot in the top of the 8th to win the finale of that series and sweep the A's before they headed out on the road for their most recent road trip that we'll be recapping in the next segment. The A's losing that finale of that series by the final of 3-0. Tampa Bay 3 runs, 6 hits, no errors. Oakland no runs, 4 hits, and no errors. Fireheisen picking up the win for Tampa Bay in this one, improving to 2-0 on the year. Jackson taking the loss for Oakland. He falls to 0-1 on the year. Kittredge picks up his 4th save of the year for the Rays in this one. Neither team hit a home run in this contest, and unfortunately, yet again, another start by Frankie Montas where he goes 7 innings or more this year, and unfortunately, doesn't get any damn run support to show for it.
You guys let washed up, used up Corey Kluber absolutely punk you like that. I was amazed. Kluber got 3 hits, no runs, and struck out 7. Oh my gosh, he went 6. Like they were never really in trouble in this game. I mean, the A's had one type of threat, and that's when Seth Brown hit for that triple. That's about it. And he didn't score on that, which is even worse. His team had absolutely fucking nothing at all. How embarrassing. How embarrassing to put up nothing. Nothing at home. It's a day game. Come on, you got to do something better. Now you run your lose streak to 6 in a row. All at home. You can't tell me they say it's 2,000 fans. I'm really thinking there might be 700-800 in some of those games. You can't tell me it's not affecting the players. When they go on the road or when they talk to their buddies, the college guys who are in the pros and stuff, in the majors. Let's not call it the NBA or the NFL. They're in the majors and they talk to them. What's your stadium experience like at your place? And we have nothing that's remotely touched them. It's discouraging. You see what has happened to the fans, the apathetic nature that everybody has about the A's here in the East Bay. This is bad. There's a tailspin we knew was coming. But gosh, they are in the rut right now. And I don't know which way they go.
Man, it's going to be real interesting. And we, of course, will find out how things went down in the road trip that preceded this sweep at home. We come at you for the second segment of tonight's show as we're already 45 minutes in here. There is a fan question of the night sitting out there. My bad that it didn't go up until after the show started. Again, hey, I wanted to take advantage of a little 3-hour break in between doing the Bear Raid and this show. Otherwise, I would have put it up at 5 o'clock like I normally would. Fan question of the night is out there, so go ahead and make your way over to either Facebook.com/AsFAnRadio or at A's_fan_radio over on Twitter to submit your responses to that. I'll, of course, read those during the final segment of tonight's show. Fan question of the night for tonight is we want to hear y'all's thoughts on the BCDC staff recommendation to remove the port priority use from Howard Terminal and allow the A's to move forward with the ballpark project. First break of the night coming at you. When we come back, we will take a look at how the A's fared at their during their road trip to Minnesota and Detroit. We, of course, got a lot more coming at you as well after that, before the night's over with, here on the belated 510 Day edition of your number one source for everything and anything on your Oakland Athletics, A's Fan Radio.
Yeah. Oaktown. Do you know about my city? Oaktown. The city of Oak. Oaktown. Oh, don't you know? Oaktown. Do you know about my city? Oaktown. The city of Oak. Oaktown. Oh, don't you know? Now let's take a little trip down memory lane. Yeah, check this out.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are tuning into from tonight in Oakland, the East Bay, and beyond. As yours truly, of course, is going through the second show of the day here on twitch.tv/AsFAnRadio after doing the Bear Raid earlier. Coming at you, of course, right now with show number 307, the belated 510 a day edition of your number one source for everything and anything on your Oakland Athletics, A's Fan Radio. It's Corporal Oaktown and the Boss Man, the dynamic duo, smacking you upside the head here on this edition of the show. And yes, that little music break piece right there was for you, Vitamin D, because I know you're a big fan of one MC Hammer. Figured I'd throw that one into the mix, and obviously with it being the belated 510 Day edition, you know, what the hell, figured I'd use that one as well. Let's go ahead and continue on down the road here with recapping the last 2 weeks' worth of Oakland Athletics baseball. Boss, of course, will be joining us here. Do you want to go ahead and just get your final thought out of the way now, or you want to hang through to do at least the Twin Series before you got to punch out? Boss, are you there? Ground control to Major Boss. Are you there? Hold on here, trying to see what's going on my end. Okay, hold on. Boss, you there? Boss. Boss, man. Getting some static feedback there from the boss. Boss.
Sorry, man. I was in a bad reception area.
Okay, my bad. No worries. I was just trying to find out if you got enough time to stick around to recap the Twin Series, or if you want to go ahead and just get to.
I can do the horrible Twin Series.
All right. So one more series recap here for Boss before he punches on out of here for the night. So let's go ahead and get on into that right here, right now. Here's what went down in. Let me go and, of course, get the box scores open up before I get all ahead of myself here. First game of that 3-game series, of course, going down in Minnesota last Friday, May the 6th. The first game of a road trip that would last up until earlier today, which, of course, we will get to in a little bit when we recap that series, but let me not get too far ahead of myself. Here's what went down in Game 1 of a 3-game series between your Oakland Athletics and the Minnesota Twins, Twinkies, whatever the hell you want to call them, last Friday out in the Twin Cities. The Twins would score first in this one, with the first run of the game coming in the bottom of the second. They would add on to that lead with one run in the bottom of the fifth before the A's would finally get on the board in the top of the sixth. And that would be what the score would end up remaining the rest of the way out, as the Twins open up this 3-game series with a victory over your Oakland Athletics, winning by the final of 2-1. Minnesota 2 runs, 8 hits, 1 error. Oakland 1 run, 4 hits, and no errors in this one. Winder picking up the win for the Twinkies. He improves to 2-0 on the year. Lelge taking the loss for Oakland in this one. He falls to 1-1 on the year. And a former Oakland Athletic, Pagan, picking up his 3rd save of the year for the Twins in this one. No home runs for the A's over on the Twins side of things. We had Miranda hit his first home run of the year, and Byron Buxton hit his ninth home run of the year in this contest.
Bases loaded in the ninth, 1 out. You don't score. Impossible with this team when it comes to hitting. And that's 7 in a row? I remember always talking about setting the tone in the series. Minnesota has not started off well, but they set the tone. And this will be a recurring theme this weekend. Absolutely no offense. I don't even know. Obviously, the pitching was good. And guys handled their business as far as Zach Lowe being a young guy and A.J. Puck. And, I spent all these young guys came in there and trying to hold it down the best way they could while the offense just did nothing. I mean, runners could hardly get in the scoring position. That's how bad it was. It was sickening looking at that on a Friday night. Like, really? This is what we have to look forward to? This right here. This is how you guys do us? My God. It was terrible last week.
And it was pretty much much of the same terribleness-wise for our beloved Green and Gold in the second game of the three-game series, which went down last Saturday, May the 7th, as only one run would be scored by either team in that contest. Spoiler alert, that one run was not scored by the Oakland Athletics. It was scored by the Twins in the bottom of the sixth, and that is all they would need in that one as they win the second game of the three-game series over the A's by the final of 1-0. Minnesota, 1 run, 5 hits, no errors. Oakland, no runs, 3 hits, and 1 booted ball in this contest. Jack's picking up the win for the Twins, improving to 2-0 on the year. James Kaprielian taking the loss for the A's, falling to 0-2 on the year. Duran picks up his second save of the year for Minnesota in this one. No home runs for the A's. Jorge Polanco hit a home run, though, for the Twins, and that, of course, accounted for the lone run that the Twins got in this one. That, of course, was Polanco's third ding-dong doodle of 2022.
Man, it's the offense. James Kaprielian pitched very well, considering how not so good he was in his season debut. He was pretty excellent here. He was mixing his pitches up pretty doggone well. Was really using that heater. He gets up to about 94, 95 miles per hour. Used it very well. He had them off kilter the entire day, but threw a curveball to Polanco. He hung it, and dude banged it about 440 or something feet. I forgot what it was. It was a real long home run. He destroyed it. But why blame James? You have guys who are not hitting the baseball. You flat out have to hit a baseball to win. It's called, you're not going to touch the bases hardly ever, if you're just walking. You might get the first, but we need guys to go station to station. That wasn't happening. And that was disappointing to see. You're a Major League Baseball team. You have one guy hitting over 250 who plays every day. That's Sheldon Noisy. Murray, for all that power he has, still does not hit for average. Tony Kemp, for being a leadoff guy, I like him a lot, but the on-base percentage has to rise up. You got to be like 380 by the. You got great speed and everything. Like, we're gonna have to really use that to our advantage if we're not going to be a team losing 95 or 100 games. I really don't know here. I don't have much more to say. You scored 0 runs. 0. You're not going to be anybody scoring 0 runs. That's a guarantee. There's only a few guarantees in life. Taxes, death, and not winning any sporting event if you don't score. Oh, my God. The finale of this 3-game series in the Twin Cities would see the return of one Reza Ramon Lariano to the Oakland lineup, as, of course, he finally returns from his 80-game suspension for popping for PEDs late in last season. Ramon would end up going 0 for 4, though, in this contest on Sunday, May the 8th. The A's would at least score some runs in this one, so there was a little bit of a bonus compared to the day before. They would score the first run of the contest in the
top of the first inning before the Twinkies would tie it up with their first run of the game in the bottom of the second. The A's would retake the lead with 2 runs in the top of the third, only to squander the lead away back to the Twins when Minnesota would drop 3 on the A's pitching staff in the bottom of the third. And that was it. All the scoring was done in the first 3 innings of this contest, as yet again the A's lose and they get swept again, this time by Minnesota, as they lose this one by the final of 4-3. Minnesota 4 runs, 9 hits, 1 error. Oakland 3 runs, 7 hits, and 1 error in this one. Stashak picking up the win for the Twins, improving to 3-0 on the year. Dalton Jeffries getting tagged for the loss for the A's, falling to 1-5 on the year. And Emilio Pagan, former A's pitcher, picking up his 4th save of the year from Minnesota in this one. No home runs for the A's, no home runs for the Twins in this one, but just, you finally see them score some runs in this one, only to see them, basically throw the donuts back up for the rest of this one. So 9-game losing streak, if I remember correctly at this point in time, for your Oakland Athletics. Mind you, last win you got was the last game of the series against the Giants in San Francisco. Just wow.
3 sweeps in a row? Are you guys kidding me? A Major League Baseball team? Are you serious? Oh, my God. I was happy to see Razor Ramon out there, but I don't even know if he could really spark that team to do anything. I mean, you were hoping for it, but it was just not meant to be. I mean, you scored in the first few frames, then you had 6 or 7 innings just being shut out. You let their bullpen absolutely dictate everything. You didn't even have a chance. Mark Kotze's off to a very bad start in the Oakland team here. The team is 10-18 at this point. People, let's just think of it this way. Howard Terminal, June 30th. Forget the scores. That's pretty much your World Series, is to see Howard Terminal get approved and see a groundbreaking. That won't happen until next year at best. Oh, God, the 2022 season was rough. Real rough, and it doesn't look like it's going to get any easier coming up.
Before, of course, we get into recapping what went down in the series that just wrapped up in Motown, it is 9 o'clock, hour in, and we still haven't even gotten through the first segment of tonight's show. But given that it is an hour in already, that means Boss will be departing us at this point. So before he, of course, heads on out of here, and, of course, I go and refill my cup of coffee over here, Boss is going to go ahead and give y'all his final thoughts of the night right here, right now, before I, of course, recap the Tiger series.
As we know, that Keith and myself do not support the San Francisco Warriors. We just don't. You can take your position on it. I don't really care. I mean, if you want to root for them from the East Bay, it's your prerogative. There's no basketball team in the Bay Area except them. Whatever. But that being said, the NBA playoffs have been a joke because referees have taken way too much liberty to call whatever the hell they want to call. They've made things about them more than the players that are on the doggone floor. So I can't blame somebody like Draymond Green going through all the histrionics and doing all the crazy stuff. Well, you guys don't call it fair down the middle, so what am I supposed to do? It's just really unfortunate to see a game officials just take over and just act like people actually pay to see them. How many people do you see walk up into, the plaza, walk through the arena with a damn, referee's outfit on? Nobody idolizes you, think you're an idiot. So, the NBA has to do something because this is making basketball unbearable and not fun to watch. If you're seeing phantom calls, and when you hear the crowd yelling hey, you totally missed it, he just shakes his head and nope, I saw what I saw. Judgment call, okay. With all the technology, that we have now, come on. And then when they go to replays for flagrant fouls, some of these fouls are not even flagrant. Now, unfortunately, Gary Payton got hurt, but I didn't think Dylan Brooks should have been suspended for the next game. He missed damn near all the game of Game 3. So, they're going to have to really get better at this because, so far, I'll be honest, some of those lady refs are doing better than these veteran men refs. That's bad. Real bad. Anyhow, everybody, you guys take care, be cool, and I'll catch you later.
Boss man, thank you as always for joining us. You enjoy the rest of your evening with the Boss wife and the Boss family over there at the Boss Pad in Alameda. That means for the remainder of tonight's broadcast, y'all are stuck with me solo going forward. So let's go ahead and get ready to wrap up the second segment of tonight's broadcast by recapping the five-game series that just wrapped up in Motown, Motor City, Detroit, Michigan. The A's playing 5 there against the Detroit Tigers, or as you'll have heard us sometimes call them on the show over the years, the Motor City Kittens. And I actually got a good chuckle, by the way, that they actually called the Tigers the Motor City Kittens on the A's post-game show today. It's like, hey, that's our line, damn it. But yeah, pretty funny to hear that. 5-game series that began on Monday, May the 9th. 4 of those games being road games for your A's, one of them being a home game for your Oakland Athletics, because obviously with the whole changing and reshuffling around of the schedule because of the lockout, erasing the original opening week plus of the season. That's why we ended up having to play a home game there, and we'll get to that in a bit. But let's go ahead and start off first. What went down in the first game of this 5-game set in Detroit, which of course started on May the 9th. Oakland would do all the scoring in this one with 1 run in the bottom of the third, or the top of the third, and their final run in the top of the fourth. That would be all they would need. Is for a change, the opponent gets held to donuts instead of the A's being held to donuts, as the A's open up this series with a 2-0 victory over the Tigers. Oakland 2 runs, 6 hits, no errors. Detroit no runs, 4 hits, and no errors in this one. Paul Blackburn picks up another W as he remains undefeated thus far in 2022. Improves to 4-0 after getting the victory in this one. Pineda takes the loss for Detroit in this one. He falls to 1-2 on the year. Dangerous Danny Jimenez, in my opinion, he's making the case there to be the guy that should be slamming the door in the ninth inning when it's a save situation. He's got 5 of them now at this point. I feel more comfortable with Dangerous Danny there than he who shall not be named. So Danny Jimenez, again, 5th save of the year for him in this one. Home runs, only home run being hit by the A's came off the bat of Tony Kemp, his first home run of the year, which came in the 3rd inning. Obviously, nothing long ball-wise for the Tigers because they didn't score jack diddly squat in this one. 6 2/3 innings pitched by Paul Blackburn in this one, as he again remains undefeated at 4-0. 4 hits given up, no runs surrendered, no walks, punched out 3 on his way to his 4th victory in this one. So definitely nice, finally, to see the A's get back on the winning side of things after the fact that you just got swept 3 consecutive series, 9-game losing streak. Had been literally almost 2 weeks, damn near, since that victory to split the series with the Giants in San Francisco during the final week of April. But, that's, like Boss alluded to, that's going to be the growing pains of coming with this team. You're going to have stretches where they potentially could get swept multiple series in a row, and then have bounce-back games like this, even though, granted, of course, it's against a team that's kind of, unfortunately, as bad, if not shittier, than your Oakland Athletics. Tuesday, May the 10th, would see doubleheader action go down at Comerica Park in Detroit. Of course, the first game of that doubleheader, your Oakland Athletics served as the home team in that contest. That's, of course, was to make up for a game that was originally supposed to happen on April the 4th as part of the original opening series at the Coliseum that, of course, got wiped out after the lockout went down. So, again, this was a game that was supposed to happen in Oakland on April the 4th originally when the original 2022 schedule came out, obviously with them shuffling everything around. And I don't think Detroit's coming out here, again, until probably way late in the year. Obviously, they had decided to play one of the games over there. So here's what went down in this contest between the quote-unquote visiting Detroit Tigers, even though they're playing in their own ballpark, and the home, quote-unquote, Oakland Athletics. A's wouldn't do crap in this one. Goose eggs through all 9 innings on the offensive side of things. The Motor City Kittens, on the other hand, didn't look like Motor City Kittens in this one. They looked more like Tigers, I guess you could say, in this one, as they would supply all the offense in this contest. 2 runs in the top of the 5th to finally break things open after a scoreless 4 innings by both teams. They would add on to that with 1 run in the bottom of the top of the 6th. Excuse me, got to remember they're the visiting team in this one, and they would score their final 3 runs of the contest in the top of the 7th as the A's get shut out in this quote unquote home game in Detroit, losing by the final of 6-0. Oakland 6 runs, 12 hits, no errors. Detroit 6 runs, 12 hits, no errors. Oakland no runs, 4 hits, and no errors in this one. Skubal picking up the win for Detroit in this one, improving the 2-2 on the year. Frankie Montas taking the L for Oaktown in this one. He falls to 2-3 on the year. Jonathan Scope hit the lone home run in this game for either team, his 2nd home run of the year with the Tigers in this one. Obviously, A's didn't put up any runs, so it's impossible for anybody to hit a ding-dong doodle and not have a run in that one. Montas went 6 1/3 in this contest, gave up 7 hits, 4 runs, all 4 of them being earned. 3 walks. He did punch out 4, but of course gave up the Scope long ball over the course of his contest before giving way to Snead and Kolarek after this one. So, situation where Frankie was pretty much cruising until the 5th inning and then kind of, got himself into trouble at that point on. It happens. It is what it is. But just, again, the growing pains of a team like this because of the way they've been assembled and put together and the breakdown that happened before the season started. Again, don't be shocked if you unfortunately see a lot of games like that happen, regardless if it's crappy teams like Detroit we're playing against or the more high-caliber teams out there. After about roughly a 35, 40-minute layover following the first game of this doubleheader earlier this week on Tuesday, Game 2 would go down, and of course it would revert back to the Tigers being the home team in their home ballpark and the A's resuming the rest of this trip as the visiting team. Here's what went down in the second game of that doubleheader on Tuesday, April the 10th. It would be scoreless through the first 3 innings of this contest before the A's would put the first 2 runs of the game on the board in the top of the 4th. They would add on a single run in the top of the 7th and their final run of the contest in the top of the 9th. He who shall not be named surrendered a run to Detroit in the bottom of the 9th inning and luckily did not give up anything outside of that, but again just continues to look like hot ass pitching out there. Again, don't know why he's still here. Y'all know the reasons why we don't support him and don't like him. So just, it's time to move on from he who shall not be named at this point. Just give somebody else in the system that roster spot and a chance to show something. But, hey, the A's did get a win in this one, winning by the final of 4-1. Oakland 4 runs, 8 hits, no errors. Detroit 1 run, 7 hits, and 2 errors in this contest. Martinez, who was called up to make the start in this one, the 27th man added for when these doubleheader situations happened, picked up the win in his major league debut, improving to 1-0 on the year. Fado taking the loss for Detroit in this one. He falls to 0-1 on the year. Let's see here. No home runs hit by either team in this contest. Martinez went 5 1/3, gave up 4 hits, no runs, and punched out 3 to get his first major league win in his MLB debut. So congratulations to a young gun being called up basically on short notice because of the doubleheader going on and getting a W his first time out there. Here's what, of course, went down in Game 4. Remember, this is 5 games going on back there in case you've lost track at this point. Game 4 of these 5 games in Motown, and it was nice to basically see how this game played out, given the lack of offense prior to this series by the Green and Gold. For the second time during this series in the Motor City, Detroit would be held to goose eggs throughout the entire 9 frames of the contest, and all the scoring would be done by Oaktown. They would score 1 in the first, 2 in the second, 3 in the third. Unfortunately, didn't score 4 in the fourth. They put up a goose egg in the fourth, put up 1 run in the top of the fifth, and then scored what would be their final 2 runs of the contest in the top of the ninth as the Oakland A's cruise to a 9-0 victory in this one over Detroit. Oakland 9 runs, 11 hits, no errors. Detroit no runs, 7 hits, and no errors in this one. Lyle picking up his second win of the year for the A's in this one, improving to 2-1 on the year. Wentz taking the loss for the Tigers as he falls to 0-1 on the season. No ding-dong doodles for either team in this contest. And that, of course, brings us to the finale of this 5-game affair in the Motor City against the Kittens. And kind of looked more like a more traditional baseball game. No huge offensive explosion really from either team. Situation where, pretty much the teams battled back and forth here, kind of jibber-jabbering here while I wait for the box score to load. Computer was moving nice and fast up to this point, but now it's taking forever, as it sometimes likes to, with bringing up the box score here in this one. And there we go now. The A's would open up the scoring in today's game, which, of course, went down earlier this morning, scoring the first 3 runs of the contest in the top of the first inning. The Tigers, though, would slowly chip back into that as they would score 2 runs in the bottom of the 5th and then would tie up the game at 3-all with a single run in the bottom of the 6th. The Motor City Kittens would not score anything, though, from that point on. The Oakland Athletics, on the other hand, they would get 2 runs across in the top of the 8th as they win this contest and take 4 out of 5 in Detroit. You could technically say they swept the road games there, but lost the one quote-unquote home game that they had to play there in Detroit. The A's victorious earlier this morning, our time, afternoon, obviously, over there in Detroit, as they won earlier today by the final of 5-3. Oakland 5 runs, 5 hits, no errors. Detroit 3 runs, 6 hits, and 1 error in this contest. A.J. Puck picking up the win in this one. He improves to 1-0 on the year. Fulmer taking the loss for Detroit. He falls to 1-2 on the year. And again, no ERA at this point. He's been pretty damn good. Dangerous Danny Jimenez, telling you, that should be our closer right there. 6th save of the year for Dangerous Danny in this contest. Lone home run for the A's and the lone home run of the contest overall coming off of none other than Brownie, Seth Brown, hitting his 3rd home run of the year, which, of course, accounted for the 2 runs to put the A's ahead for good in the top of the 8th in this one. So nice job by the Green and Gold, taking 4 out of 5. God, just crazy. 5, not very often that ends up happening. I want to say, first time in probably since maybe the 70s or 80s, I want to say. They didn't give an exact date, but somebody on the broadcast mentioned it wasn't the first time they played a 5-game series, but it's obviously been a long time since that's gone down. But nice to see them take 4 out of 5 in Detroit, and as a result of that, you ended up actually with a 500 record on that road trip. So not a lot of rest, though, for them, as, of course, they don't have an off day until next week. And we will, of course, take a look at who they will be playing over the course of the next week when we come back at you for the next segment of tonight's show. Reminder, there is a fan question of the night sitting out there, so if you haven't had a chance to do so yet, make your way over to either facebook.com/AsFAnRadio or at A's_fan_radio over on Twitter to submit your response to the fan question of the night. I'll, of course, read it here live on air during the final segment of tonight's show. We want to hear your thoughts on the BCDC staff recommendation to remove port priority use from Howard Terminal and allow the A's to move forward with their ballpark project. Again, that is, of course, you can find on either facebook.com/AsFanRadio or at A's_fan_radio on Twitter. Just look for the tweet or post that says fan question of the night, post your response, and, of course, I will read those later on before we wrap up things here on tonight's broadcast. When we come back, we will take a look ahead to what the Oakland Athletics have on tap over the course of the next week and also see what they have made roster move-wise since the last time we came at you here on AFR. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back at you here in a bit on show number 307, the belated 510 day edition of A's Fan Radio. And I guess apparently that was actually a lot quicker than I thought it was with that song, but hey, I guess that's what happens. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is show number 307, the belated 510 day edition of your number one source for everything and anything on your Oakland Athletics. A's talk from the fans' point of view since 2003. AsFANRAdio, of course, is the Legally 5150 Corporal Oaktown, coming at you solo for the remainder here on this broadcast, in case you're just tuning in now. Main man, the boss man, joined me, of course, for the first hour of tonight's show. Let's go ahead and take a look at what the Oakland Athletics have on tap as far as their next week's worth of game action between now and we, of course, come at you for the next edition of the show. They, of course, over the course of that next week, will be back at home for a homestand, as they, of course, will play 7 games, my bad, during the course of 6 days back home at the Coliseum. The first 4 games of that 7-day homestand start tomorrow when the team that we still call the Anaheim Angels, I don't give a damn what the hell they're putting out there. They don't play in Los Angeles, let alone Los Angeles County. They're in Orange County. Angel Stadium is in Anaheim. They're the Anaheim Angels, damn it, or as Boss and I have called them over the years, the Anaheim Devils. Angels coming into town for a 4-game set, starting, of course, tomorrow with the first game going down at 6:40 p.m. Pacific Standard Time over here at the Oakland Coliseum. It's Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Night out there at the Coliseum, and all fans in attendance will be getting a hat that's themed off of Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Night. So you can look forward to having that on hand for you when you get to the ballpark for that contest. Saturday, May the 14th, we'll see a doubleheader go down to the Coliseum between Oakland and Anaheim. The first game of that doubleheader will go down at 1:07 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And then, of course, once that game wraps up, hey, everyone's got to clear out of the stadium and come back in for the second game of that doubleheader. So, yeah, unfortunately, it ain't one of those days where you can use, the buy one, get 2 games thingy with some doubleheaders. Yeah, you're gonna have to buy 1 ticket for 1 game and then buy a completely separate ticket for the second game in this one. First game again of that doubleheader at 1:07 p.m. The second game of that doubleheader on May the 14th will take place at 6:40 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And given that the team wasn't in town for 510 Day on Tuesday, they're going to be celebrating a belated 510 Day of their own, kind of like, hey, we're doing our belated 510 Day show here to tonight, 2 days after 510 Day. The A's will be hosting a belated 510 Day celebration, apparently over the course of both games out there at the Coliseum on Saturday, May the 14th. Finally, to close out those 4 games against the Angels will be a day game at 1:07 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Sunday, May the 15th. That will also be Scout Day over at the Oakland Alameda County Coliseum, or, we know it's the Ring Central Coliseum, but, we like to call it by its old school name and not its sponsorship name. Anaheim's sitting on top of the division right now and has been red bloody hot, pretty much. Obviously, last couple of years, it really kind of hasn't mattered to some extent if Anaheim's been red hot or not. The A's have always kind of found some way to smack these yoo-hoos around. I don't know if that's going to be the case this weekend. I, don't want to sound or be negative, but let's be real. With how that Angels team is looking right now, I would expect, unfortunately, ugliness at the ballpark. So just go out there, enjoy yourselves. If you're going to the ballpark, hang out with the homies, say what's up to the 68s, the crew in the last dive bar. Maybe the A's get lucky and do something unexpected. But yeah, I'm really not going to be shocked, unfortunately, if it just ends up being an ugly 4 games at the Coliseum. But hey, could be wrong. I guess we'll find out when we, of course, recap those 4 games on the next edition of the show. After those 4 games against Anaheim, the A's will conclude that 7-game homestand with a 3-game set against one of the teams that swept them and caused that 9-game losing streak to go on before the A's got into Motown earlier in the week. The Minnesota Twins coming out here for 3 games against the Oakland Athletics. First game of that 3-game series going down next Monday, May the 16th. That'll be a 6:40 p.m. Pacific Standard Time start at the Coliseum. Tuesday, May the 17th contest will also be a 6:40 p.m. Pacific Standard Time start over there at Rickey Henderson Field at the Oakland Coliseum. And the finale of that 3-game series, and of course the finale of that 7-game homestand, will come at you on Wednesday, May the 18th at 12:37 Pacific Standard Time. Tickets for that game, that series, and of course the whole homestand, as always, for those of you that want to get tickets and go out there, you of course make your way over to athletics.com/tickets. A's, if I were them, obviously trying to look to exact a little bit of revenge for getting swept in Minnesota. That would be your thought, obviously. Hey, we got swept in their yard. Let's return the favor and sweep them here in our yard. But it'll be obviously interesting to see if that happens, because, again, just, the dynamics of the way this team looked, kind of gave us, some out there maybe a false hope that maybe they could float around 500 all year, and have kind of obviously, outside of the Detroit series recently, have kind of shown signs of being more what we expected them to be during the course of this season. It'll be interesting either way to see if the A's are able to exact revenge against the Twinkies for those 3 games that they were swept in Minnesota, or if it will end up being a repeat of what the Twins did in Minnesota, with the only difference being the Twins doing it here in Oakland. So, of course, as mentioned, 7 games coming at you over the next week before we come at you with, of course, the next edition of AsFAnRadio next Thursday, the 19th. 4 against the Angels over the course of this weekend, and, of course, 3 against the Twinkies starting next Monday. Let's go ahead and take a look at what the most recent roster transactions have been for your Oakland Athletics since last time we came at you here on the show. Obviously, that's going to cover the tail end of April and the early couple of weeks here into May. Once, obviously, we get that stuff loaded on my end, and I got to dissect back to stuff that happened. Now, transactions are up. They're loading on April. There we go. All righty. Since we last came at you here on the show, here are the moves that have gone down with your Oakland Athletics. Starting, of course, with April the 29th, which saw several roster moves go down for the green and gold. The A's optioned center fielder Mickey McDonald to the Las Vegas Aviators, returned right-handed pitcher Ryan Castellani to the Aviators, activated Jed Lowry from the 10-day IL during that game. They also activated shortstop Kevin Smith back onto the roster. They then also, to close out things on the 29th, designated center fielder Mickey McDonald for assignment. And to close out the month of April, they had 2 roster transactions go down on the 30th as the A's claimed right-handed pitcher Domingo Tapia off waivers from the Kansas City Royals and then optioned him down to the AAA Las Vegas Aviators. There's your transactions for April. Here's what we got transaction-wise so far going into May. May the 1st would see the A's make 3 roster moves as they, of course, would option right-handed pitcher Adam Oller to Las Vegas, activate right-handed pitcher James Kaprielian, and unfortunately reactivate he who shall not be named from a rehab assignment that he had completed with the Stockton Ports. May the 2nd would also see several moves be made as well as the A's sent center fielder Mickey McDonald outright to Las Vegas. They also optioned right-handed pitcher Jacob Lamone to the Aviators as well. And the last roster move going down on May the 2nd being catcher Austin Allen being designated for assignment. May the 3rd would see shortstop Drew Jackson return to the Aviators from the A's. Shortstop Nick Allen also getting optioned back to the Aviators. The A's would also activate he who shall not be named on May the 3rd and also activated shortstop Drew Jackson on May 3rd. May the 4th, they sent catcher Austin Allen outright to the Aviators after he claimed cleared through waivers. They signed free agent right-handed pitcher Ramon Vasquez to a minor league contract and also signed left-handed pitcher Mac Lardner to a minor league deal as well. One last minor league deal going down also to close out May the 4th, being right-handed pitcher Richard Fernandez being signed to a minor league deal as well. May the 5th would see our good friend left-handed pitcher Cole Irvin placed on the 15-day IL retroactive to May the 2nd as he currently is on the way back from left shoulder soreness that he sustained in his previous pitching outing. They recalled left-handed pitcher Zach Lowell from the Aviators, activated center fielder Ramon, or now I'm getting a little ahead of myself on there, my bad, y'all. May the 6th is when they recalled Zach Lowe from Las Vegas. May the 8th is when Ramon Laureano got activated back onto the roster after serving that 80-game suspension. They placed right fielder Steven Piscotty on the 10-day IL retroactive to May 7th as he has left calf tightness. They also, on the 8th, released right-handed pitcher Jorge Juan. May the 9th would see two moves go down as the A's would select the contract of left fielder Luis Barrera from the Las Vegas Aviators and would also see the A's designate left fielder Billy McKinney for assignment. May the 10th, the A's would make two moves on 510 days. They would recall right-handed pitcher Adrian Martinez from Las Vegas, and they also signed free agent designated hitter Matt Davidson to a minor league contract. And the last two most recent roster moves they made going down yesterday, as of course they optioned Adrian Martinez back to Las Vegas after he made the start in made the start in the doubleheader, I should say. And they, of course, sent left fielder Billy McKinney outright to the Las Vegas Aviators. And that concludes the most recent roster transactions for your Oakland Athletics since the last time we came at you. Reminder, there is a fan question of the night sitting out there for y'all to respond to and have yours truly read at the end of tonight's broadcast. So go ahead and head on out there and check that out if you haven't had a chance to yet. Facebook.com/AsFAnRadio or at A's_fan_radio on Twitter is where you can find the post or tweet with the fan question. Click on that, submit your response. I'll read it at the end of the show. We want to hear your thoughts on the BCDC staff recommendation to basically allow the A's to build the Howard Terminal Ballpark project. So again, for that, Facebook.com/AsFAnRadio or at A's_fan_radio on Twitter. Look for the post tweet that says fan question of the night. Submit your response. I'll read it at the end of tonight's broadcast. On that note, we're finally an hour and a half in at 7th inning stretch time here on A's Fan Radio. When we come back for the infamous X-rated second half of the broadcast, we'll take a look at the most up-to-date or recent look. Let me start over with that again. When we come back for the infamous X-rated second half of the show, we'll go ahead and take a look at the current Major League Baseball standings, checking on the latest with Cal football and Cal baseball in the Bear Raid segment, because remember, we're skipping over the Down on the Farm segment for this edition of the show. Checking with what the Oakland Roots have been up to. We also will, of course, before the night's over with, see how the season ended for the San Jose Sharks. And then, of course, before it's all said and done, and I give my final thought, read your responses to the fan question of the night. That and more coming at you in the second half of show number 307, the belated 510 day edition of your number one source for everything and anything on your Oakland Athletics, A's Fan Radio. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to what we historically refer to here on AFR as the infamous X-rated second half of your number one source for everything and anything on your Oakland Athletics. A's talk from the fans' point of view since 2003. It is, of course, the belated 510 day edition of A's Fan Radio. The legally 5150 Corporal Oaktown coming at you solo since about roughly halfway through the second segment of tonight's broadcast. Main man, the boss man, the other half of what's affectionately become known as the dynamic duo here on AFR over the course of the last 9 years. Join me, of course, for the first hour of tonight's broadcast, and still got a whole second half to come at you. Don't know if it'll be an hour and a half long like the first one was, but you never know. We'll end up seeing what's happening. Would be nice if it didn't drag on because of the fact that, sometime tonight I would like to try to catch some Z's, even though I'm going to be editing this show and, of course, the Bear Raid earlier today. And that's kind of the other reason, too, I'm hoping this doesn't drag on hell long, because I already did one show today, man. I'm, basically slamming coffee here to keep the brain clicking and everything going, so that way I can do the whole rest of this stuff for you. But, yeah, we'll obviously see what ends up happening as things go on here in the second half of tonight's broadcast. And we, of course, lead off the infamous X-rated second half of tonight's show the way we usually always do, which is, of course, taking a look at what the current standings are looking like at this point in time around Major League Baseball. Like we do usually always, we start off over in the American League because that's the league that the Oakland Athletics are in. And as always, we start off in the division that our beloved Green and Gold calls home, the American League West, where, before things today, I guess I unfortunately was going off of old data, but that was because going into today, it was the Angels sitting in first place. That's not the case anymore. The Houston Astros are back on the top of the division. The usual suspects, and have kind of unfortunately become the kings of the AL West the last several years. God, I hate those bastards. I can't wait till they finally fall the hell off and are in the cellar for a while. The Astros are currently on top of the division with a record of 21-11. The Anaheim Angels, who were in first place, they're only a half game back. At this point in time right now. They're 21-12. The Seattle Mariners, who initially kind of looked like they were going to be a little hot out of the gate and, maybe, fulfill the early season prediction that Boston and I had of winning the division, they're kind of starting to look a little bit more like what our boy Dre thought his beloved 206 squad was going to look like. Middle of the pack right now, but they're 14-18 at the moment. The Texas Rangers are in fourth with a record of 13-17 and currently sitting at the bottom of the AL West right now with a record of 14-19 are our beloved Oakland Athletics. Let's go ahead and see how things are shaping up right now around the rest of the AL at this point in time. Of course, we'll begin that with looking at things over in the AL East, where the team with the best record in baseball at the moment is sitting on top of things, and you already know, for those of you all that know my roommate Ron, he's very thrilled about this. Sitting on top of the East, of course, with a record of 23-8 is the team that us A's fans love to hate, or amongst many teams that we love to hate out here in Oakland. That being the New York Yankees, 23-8, again, best record in AL, best record in baseball at the moment, first place as well in the AL East. The Tampa Bay Rays are sitting in the second spot currently right now with a record of 19-13. The Toronto Blue Jays are in third with a record of 17-15. The Baltimore Orioles are actually not in the basement right now. They're still 14-18, so kind of, similar to the middle of the pack. Seattle Mariners over here on our end, sitting at the bottom of the division right now in the AL East, and a lot of this has to do with the fact that they basically have gotten smacked around and have lost like 12 of their last 14 or 15 games at 11-20 right now. And in last place in the AL East are the Boston Red Sox. To wrap up things with the AL side of the standings, here's how things are looking right now over the AL Central. The Minnesota Twins, who of course will be coming into town for 3 games next week, are sitting on top of the Central at this moment with a record of 18-14. The Chicago White Sox, who are obviously probably looking to continue to control that division after, of course, many years it was the Tigers that were sitting there on top, and since Detroit's fallen off, it's kind of been the Pale Hose that have kind of tried to make themselves be the dominant force in that. They're currently in second place, though, right now in the Central with an even 500 record of 15-15. Tied with them right now for second place is the Cleveland Guardians, who are also 15-15. After that, of course, you got the Kansas City Royals, who are 10-19th in the fourth spot, and sitting in the bottom of the Central with the worst record in the AL. It's not the worst record in baseball. Oh, well, it is actually. Hold on. Never mind. No, it's not the worst record in baseball yet by a game, but it's the worst record in the AL, obviously, and that, of course, is the team that we just took 4 out of 5 from in the Motor City. The Detroit Tigers are in last place with a dismal-ass record of 9-23. So, yeah, pretty much in Motown this year, it looks like the only thing y'all are going to be looking forward to as of right now is Miguel Cabrera padding his historic stat numbers as he adds on to his 3,000 hits and his 500 home runs before he ultimately decides to call it a day. Yeah, not looking good for a team that for many years, and obviously was a big thorn in our sides for a while, a team that kind of, dominated the Central for a few years and have now kind of, fallen flat on their faces. I think ultimately, when everything's said and done, it's probably going to be the White Sox that are on top there. The Twins will probably still make some noise. I don't think Cleveland's going to do anything, but it will be real interesting to see how Minnesota and Chicago kind of, dance around each other as the year goes on. Tampa Bay still in the hunt at 4.5 games. Not surprised that the top three are basically New York, Tampa, and Toronto. Really am honestly shocked by how much the Red Sox have just fallen off the face of the earth at this point. I'm not going to be sad by it. I kind of, love seeing it when the Red Sox do crappy, as many others out there do, but just like, damn, y'all. Really? 12 out of your last 14? Damn. Just very unfortunate if you're a fan of the team over there in Beantown. Obviously, you're kind of seeing, what could end up just being potentially a two-team race out here in the AL West, unless Seattle's able to somehow get back into it. Many of us obviously are not expecting the A's to factor into this at all. Maybe they play spoiler against these teams at some point later on in the year, but really early on here, it's looking like it's going to potentially be a race between Houston and Anaheim to win the division. So it'll be real interesting to see how things go down with that. Let's go ahead and switch things over from the junior circuit to the senior circuit and go ahead and take a look now at what things are shaping up to be like at this point in time over in the National League. We, of course, will start off with the NL East standings, where the New York Mets are on top with a record of 22-11. The Braves are in second place currently with a record of 15-17. The Miami Marlins and the Philadelphia Phillies are tied for third with records of 14-17. The Washington Nationals sit in the last place spot of the East with a record of 11-22. Over in the NL Central right now, you have the Minnesota Twins the Milwaukee Brewers. God, there I go thinking. My bad, y'all. God, hey, again, this is what happens when you do two shows in one day. The Milwaukee Brewers sitting on top of the NL Central right now with a record of 20-12. The St. Louis Cardinals are in second, at the moment, the record of 17-14. The Pittsburgh Pirates are in third? What the hell? Yeah, that's a little bit of a shocker right there. 13-18 currently are the Pirates at the moment, which is good enough for third. The Chicago Cubs are 11-19, fourth in the division, and sitting in last place in the NL Central with the worst record in the NL and currently the worst record in all of baseball at 8-24 are the Cincinnati Reds. Yeah, very unfortunate to be a fan of them. Can understand why you had someone out there to talk about going and crapping in the truck out there in center field of Great American Ballpark, because that team is straight crap right now. Finally, over in what's become the wild NL West the last several years, you have the Los Angeles Dodgers sitting on top of the record of 20-9. That's the best record in the National League at the moment. The San Diego Padres are second with a record of 20-12. The San Francisco Giants are third with a record of 19-12. The Arizona Diamondbacks are fourth with a record of 17-15. And the Colorado Rockies are in last place currently right now with a record of 16-15. So wild NL West right now. All the teams are above 500 right now. Don't know if that'll be the case as the season drags on, but kind of looking like potentially could have a 3-team race out there in the West again. Kind of, in the early going in the Central, I kind of figured, it looked like at first that it would be Milwaukee, St. Louis, and the Cubs trying to jockey for things. Really, right now, looking like it might just come down to Milwaukee and St. Louis. We'll have to obviously see how that ends up playing out. And not shocked by the way the Mets are performing right now, but kind of figured that the defending World Series champion Atlanta Braves would be a lot closer than 6.5 games back at this point in time. But, hey, still early. It's still just barely over a month and a couple weeks in to the season at this point, so a lot of things could obviously change with all these teams between now and the course of time before the season's over with. That will conclude, of course, the standings for this edition of A's Fan Radio. As I mentioned, of course, given the longevity of this broadcast dragging out tonight, we'll be skipping over the Down on the Farm segment for this edition of the show in case you missed out on that earlier. Down on the Farm segment will resume on next week's edition of A's Fan Radio. Fan question of the night is out there in case you haven't had a chance to get to it yet. So go ahead and make your way over to Facebook.com/AsFAnRadio or at A's_fan_radio over on Twitter to submit your responses to those. And I, of course, will read those before tonight's broadcast is over with. We want to, of course, hear your thoughts on the BCDC staff recommendation for Howard Terminal to basically be allowed to have the ballpark project happen there. So again, Facebook.com/AsFAnRadio or at A's_fan_radio over on Twitter. Look for the post or tweet with that. Hit in with your response. I'll read those before the night is over with. We come back. Bear Raid segment will be coming at you with Cal football and Cal baseball news, and also as well will be the most recent rendition of the Oakland Roots segment. That and more coming at you here on show number 307, the belated 510 day edition of A's Fan Radio.
1, 2, 3, out!
Hey, hey, hey. Night rolls on here. Still got 2 segments to come at you before we close up shop, and that, of course, includes the segment that's coming your way right here, right now. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to show number 307, the belated 510 day edition of your number one source for everything and anything on your Oakland Athletics. A's talk from the fans' point of view since 2003, A's Fan Radio, with the legally 5150 Corporal Oaktown, who, of course, was joined by the other half of the dynamic duo, the main man, the boss man, during the first hour of tonight's broadcast. It's pretty much been me solo from about 9:10-ish on up to this point. Let's go ahead and get on further into the action here as the night rolls on from Dub 6 Studios out to y'all from wherever y'all are tuning in from tonight here on twitch.tv/AsFanRadio. Yeah, of course, I discussed a couple things here earlier in the day, but of course, as many of you know, this is the place where initially it began as a segment, still do the segment here. It's ultimately, of course, developed into its own separate podcast, which I did earlier in today, that, of course, being the 19th edition of the podcast version of the Bear Raid presented by Tightwad Hill. It is time, though, yet again, for a segment edition of the Bear Raid presented by Tightwad Hill, which, of course, gives some of y'all the opportunity that maybe missed out on today's earlier edition of the Bear Raid a chance to see some stuff, or hear some stuff, I should say, more or less, in regards to Cal football and Cal baseball, if you missed out on that. If you, of course, want to find out what happened with Cal softball, you got to go back and catch the recording of the Bear Raid. I'm not going to be talking Cal softball in this one. It's going to be just football and baseball. Starting off, of course, as mentioned, with Cal football, pretty much just for this edition of the segment edition of the Bear Raid. Going to basically recap the spring game, pretty much at this point. The spring game, or spring showcase, I should say. That's what they called it this year. Going down back on Saturday, April the 30th. Yours truly originally was supposed to be at the spring game. I, of course, ended up going to the A's game instead that day, as my dumbass picked that as the from one of the 4 dates that they gave us vets to utilize the free tickets that they put out there for us this year. So unfortunately, did not make it up to the spring showcase this year. Donnie, Taddy, Duncan, and a couple of the other tightwads did, though. So if any of y'all want to check out some of the video or pictures that Duncan took up there during the spring showcase, you can check those out, of course, over at facebook.com/TightwadHillOfficial. Coach Justin Wilcox liked what he saw at the Cal Football Spring Showcase on a sun-splashed spring afternoon at California Memorial Stadium. Incredible was the first word from Wilcox at his press conference when asked about the event that drew an enthusiastic crowd of Cal football fans. It's just been so long since we've been able to do something like this, Wilcox continued. To get that many people here, the excitement from the fans, we had a ton of alumni. It's awesome. The energy here today was incredible. It was a great day. Cal football legends, including former NFL players Lorenzo Alexander and Deshaun Jackson, as well as Kevin Moen and longtime team radio announcer Joe Starkey, were in attendance, with Moen and Starkey on hand to celebrate the upcoming 125th edition of the big game, as well as the 40th anniversary of the play in 2022. Moen, of course, finished off the 5 lateral kick return through the Stanford band that lifted Cal to a victory in the big game back in 1982, while Starkey made the radio call of arguably the most iconic play in the history of college football. In my opinion, of course, it is the most iconic radio call in college football and perhaps just football, period, as far as I'm concerned. The admission-free event began with a chance for knuckleheads out there that have season tickets. Obviously, myself and others don't because, hey, we take advantage of being able to watch the game for free from a 99-year-old pile of dirt that overlooks the stadium. But for those of you that do partake in season tickets for Cal football, you had the chance to select your seats for the upcoming season. And things also included a youth combine that was meant one of many fun activities for kids, a food and beer garden, and, of course, the team's scrimmage before finally concluding with an on-the-field autograph session and meet and greet with Cal players and coaches. As I mentioned, of course, during the ad for Tightwad Hill during the previous break, Cal, of course, will open its 2022 football schedule at home against UC Davis on September the 3rd. The schedule will feature 7 home contests highlighted by the 125th big game against Stanford on November the 19th, plus a September 17th trip to Notre Dame to face the Fighting Irish for the first time in 55 years. Of course, for more information on that, we'll get a little bit more into detail, obviously, with things with that in Cal football when we get closer to things in September. But obviously for that, you can go and check out additional information on that and any other Cal football news that goes down between now and then over on calbears.com and just click on the football section of the Cal Bears website. Let's go ahead now and take a real quick look at what Cal baseball has been up to since the last time we came here on the show. We will just real quickly here, I was trying to get back into the habit of, obviously, just like with the A's recaps, breaking down the box scores for the Cal baseball games as well. But as mentioned, I'm trying to be fair to not just y'all, but to me as well, and not drag things out here much longer than they need to be at this point. So just real quickly here, I'll just give you the final scores in these contests that we'll be taking a look back at. Going back, of course, to April the 29th, as we take a look back at what Cal baseball has done since the last time we came at you here on the show. Friday, April the 29th, would see the first of 3 games between Cal and 25th-ranked Oregon go down up in Eugene, Oregon. Cal would lose the first game of that series on the 29th by the final of 7-2. They would also lose the second game of the series to close out the month of April on the 30th by the final of 8-3. They were able to salvage the finale of that series, though, and open up the month of May with a 9-8 victory over the 25th-ranked Ducks. After that, they came back home for a $2 Tuesday at Evans Diamond in Berkeley, and they, of course, hosted the alma mater of our good friend Chris Townsend over there on A's Cast, San Jose State coming into Berkeley to take on the California Golden Bears. Though I'm pretty sure Townie is not too happy with the final outcome of that game as California shut out San Jose State with a 10-0 victory in that contest on May the 3rd. After that, of course, would see Cal head across the bay to the Sunken Diamond over in Palo Alto to take on their rival Stanford, who's also ranked 11th in the country right now in NCAA baseball. Would not be a great weekend for your California Golden Bears. Stanford would end up sweeping Cal in that 3-game series. Cal would lose the first game of the series last Friday, May the 6th, by the final of 6-2. Drop the second game of the series on Saturday, May the 7th, by the final of 8-7, and then get their asses handed to them in the final game of the 3-game series to complete the sweep for the punk-ass Stanford Cardinal. Stanford won that one by the final of 11-3. Up next for your California Golden Bears baseball program, they have 3 games on tap between now and before we come at you for the next edition of the show. Well, actually, I take that back. 4 games between now and then, and basically those 4 games are amongst basically what will be their last 6 games of the season and their last 6 games at home for those 6 games will take place between now and before we come at you. But between now and when we come at you for the next edition of the show, the first 3 of those 4 games will be a 3-game series that begins tomorrow against New Mexico. The first game of that 3-game series against the Lobos will start tomorrow night at 6:05 p.m. Pacific Standard Time over at Evans Diamond. Game 2 will also be at Evans Diamond in Berkeley. That'll be a 3:05 p.m. Pacific Standard Time start. And the finale of that 3-game series with New Mexico will be on May the 15th, this upcoming Sunday. That will be a 1:05 p.m. start time. $7 tickets starting at $7 are available for all 3 games of that series. They will start off the first game of a 3-game series to close out the 2022 NCAA season against Utah 2 hours before we come at you with the next edition of A's Fan Radio, so we may be able to actually even recap that game depending on where it's at that point in time when we get things with the Bear Raid segment at that point in time. So 3 games against New Mexico and the first of 3 against the Utah Utes when we come at you here for the next edition of the show. And that pretty much wraps up things here on this broadcast for this segment edition of the Bear Raid presented by Tightwad Hill. Yes, segment podcast that share a name are sponsored by a 99-year-old pile of dirt that overlooks a college football stadium over in Berkeley, California. And, of course, for those of you out there that want more information pertaining to the podcast version of the Bear Raid, you can check out things in regards to that over at Facebook.com/TightwadHillOfficial. Follow things over on Twitter at TightwadHill23. Check out things online pertaining to the Bear Raid over on AsFANRadio.com/The Bear Raid presented by Tightwad Hill, basically serving as kind of an unofficial website home for the Bear Raid until we can get around to relaunching a Tightwad Hill website. Just like with A's Fan Radio, the Bear Raid's broadcasts take place, of course, on twitch.tv/AsFanRadio. And past editions of the Bear Raid, just like past editions of AFR, are over on A's Fan Radio's YouTube channel. So that's where you can check any of those out in case you missed them. All right, let's go ahead and move over to the soccer pitch and see what Oakland Roots Sports Club has been up to since the last time we came at you here on the show. 2 games have gone down since last time we checked in on what the Roots were going. 1 home game, 1 road game. That home game, of course, back on April the 30th, saw the Colorado Springs Switchbacks come in to face the Roots over at Laney College in Oakland, California. It would not be a pleasant night for Roots fans or the Roots in general, as the Roots would get shut out in that contest on April the 30th over here at the Laney College football field, as the Switchbacks would defeat Oakland Roots SC by a final of 3-0. So, yeah, it was great to obviously see the boys wear the Kelly Green kit, the Oakland kit, as it's been kind of dubbed, which they kind of primarily have been wearing as a road uniform. Personally, I'd rather see this be the uniform they wear at home, but, I guess with soccer, they can wear whatever the hell they want and what combination out there. But, yeah, great to see them debut in those jerseys at home there, but obviously not the outcome Roots fans wanted to see, as, again, the Switchbacks shut out the Roots in that contest on April the 30th by the final of 3-0. After that, they would then head down to Orange County for a road trip last Saturday, May the 7th. That, of course, would see them face off against Orange County SC down in SoCal. And a little bit of a better outcome for the Roots in this one. Obviously, didn't get a W, but you were able to manage to get at least a point out of things here in this one, as the Oakland Roots and Orange County SC were able to basically play it out to a 2-2 draw. So, and it's kind of been, unfortunately, a little bit of a regular occurrence kind of with the Oakland Roots this year. They've, seems like a majority of the games, unfortunately, have ended up in ties for the most part. I mean, that's great and all. You get a point out of that, but I'd rather get the 3 points, get a W, so it'd be definitely nice to obviously, some point, here in time, see, some more W's come up on that. But 2-2 draw between the Roots and Orange County SC in that contest on May the 7th. The Roots will have one game going down between now and the next time we come at you here on A's Fan Radio. And that, of course, will be another road trip for Oakland Roots SC, as they will be heading off to a place that many of us have have started to love to hate in recent years. Oakland Roots heading out to Las Vegas to take on Las Vegas Lights FC in a 7 p.m. contest that will be going down this Saturday out in the desert. Several members of Homegrown Hooligans, The Function, and some of the other various Oakland Roots fan groups are making that trip out there to Vegas to catch that one. So safe travels to y'all. Have fun and whoop that Vegas ass on Saturday night out there. Oakland Roots versus Las Vegas Lights FC. Again, that will be going down on Saturday, May the 14th, 2 days from now. That will be a 7 p.m. Match start in that one. You, of course, can catch that game on either ESPN Plus or, as they're doing with all the Roots road games this year, you can catch the Roots battling it out with Las Vegas Lights over on KTVU Plus. Let's go ahead and take a look at what the current conference standings look like right now over in the USL for the Western Conference, which is where the Roots reside at this year. Colorado Springs Switchback currently sit on top of the Western Conference with a record of 8-1-0 for a total of 24 points. San Antonio FC is in the second spot currently right now with a record of 7-2-0 for 21 points. Third belongs to the San Diego Loyal, who are 6-2-2 with 20 points. Phoenix Rising is in the fourth spot with a record of 6-3-0 for a total of 18 points. Sacramento Republic FC is currently in the fifth spot with a record of 4-2-3 for a total of 15 points. The Las Vegas Lights, who of course your Oakland Roots will be taking on 2 days from now, are in the sixth spot with a record of 4-4-2 for 14 points. The El Paso Locomotive are in the seventh and final playoff position if the season were to end right now. The El Paso Locomotive currently holding down the seventh spot with a record of 4-5-1 for a total of 13 points. Here's how things are shaping out after that. At this point in time, the LA Galaxy 2 are in the eighth spot with a record of 3-4-2 for 11 points. New Mexico United is ninth with a record of 2-2 and 4 for a total of 10. Orange County SC is in the 10th spot at 2-3-3 for a total of 9 points. Rio Grande Valley is in the 11th spot with a record of 3-6-0 for a total of 9 points. Your Oakland Roots SC are currently at the moment in the second to last place spot in the Western Conference. They're currently only have one win on the season so far. Currently 1-4-5, 5 ties so far this year for a total of 8 points. The expansion Monterey Bay FC are sitting in the last place spot currently at the moment with a record of 2-6-0 for a total of 6 points. And that concludes things here on this edition of the Oakland Roots segment. So again, Roots at Vegas tomorrow, 2 days from now, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. You can catch that game over on ESPN Plus or again on KTVU Plus. And again, shout out, safe travels, and have fun and beat that Vegas ass to our friends out there that are going to be making the trip out there to the desert to watch Oakland Roots SC play out things on Saturday. On that note, final reminder of the fan question of the night coming at you here right now, which means, hey, we only got one more break and one more segment left, 2+ hours in before we finally call it a night here on A's Fan Radio. Again, Facebook.com/A's Fan Radio or A's_fan_radio on Twitter to submit your response to the fan question of the night. Go ahead and get them in now, because once I get done with the Sharks segment, I'll be reading those off. And of course, the fan question of the night for tonight's edition of the show, we want to hear your thoughts on the BCDC staff recommendation to remove port priority use from Howard Terminal, thus clearing the way for the A's to potentially build their ballpark at the site. Again, Facebook.com/AsFAnRadio or at A's_fan_radio on Twitter to submit those responses to the fan question of the night. Look for the post or tweet that says fan question of the night. Submit your response, and I will, of course, read those during the final segment of tonight's show, which will be coming right at you after this final break. Along with reading those responses to the fan question of the night, we'll go ahead and do the final San Jose Sharks recap segment of the 2021-2022 season, and, of course, get on out of here with my final thoughts of the night after I read your responses to the fan question of the night. Final break, final segment of the night coming at you here in a bit on show number 307, the belated 510 day edition of A's Fan Radio. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is time for the final segment of tonight's edition of your number one source for the everything and anything on your Oakland Athletics. A's Talk from the fans' point of view since 2003, and the second of two broadcasts that yours truly has done today. Of course, did show number 19 of the Bear Raid presented by Tightwad Hill earlier in the day at 2:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and getting ready to close up shop here on the second and final broadcast of today's doubleheader here on AFR's Twitch channel. That, of course, being the flagship podcast of the Twitch channel, A's Fan Radio. Belated 510 day edition, of course, of AFR coming at you here with the final segment getting underway here. It is the legally 5150 Corporal Oaktown coming at you here solo since roughly just after 9 p.m. I, of course, was joined earlier in the broadcast, the first hour of tonight's broadcast, by the other half of the dynamic duo, the main man, the boss man. Let's go ahead and get on in to that final segment of tonight's show. And, of course, again, you know, this is your opportunity, if you haven't had a chance to, go and get in the responses to the fan question of the night on either our Facebook or our Twitter pages, so that way I can read those here at the end of the show. Again, this obviously you're probably sitting there thinking, hey, their season's been over for almost 2 weeks now, because obviously they didn't make it into the Stanley Cup playoff, but we, you know, ended up not doing a San Jose Sharks segment on the last edition of A's Fan Radio a little over 2 weeks ago. And that was mainly because of the fact that they only had one game left, which was the day after that show. And I decided, you know, because at that point in time I thought we would have been, you know, had originally been planning on broadcasting last Thursday. Plans obviously changed with that. So decided to obviously still stick with that plan that I had set up had the show went down on May the 5th. And obviously, because of swapping out the Sharks segment on the last broadcast on April the 28th with the review of Sonic the Hedgehog 2, you're going to go ahead and get that final look at how the season ended for the San Jose Sharks in 2021/2022. And obviously, that means we're going to be going back a little bit ahead before that, obviously. We'll go back to April the 21st, just to be fair, and let you all see and look back on what the San Jose Sharks did to close out their final week of the 2021-2022 NHL season. Going back, of course, to a home game at the San Jose Arena on April 21st, a contest that the Sharks, of course, lost to the St. Louis Blues by the final of 3-1. 2 nights later, they would host the Chicago Blackhawks on a Saturday, the 23rd of April, at the San Jose Shark Tank. The San Jose Arena. God damn, I'm getting tired here already. Yeah, Sharks winning that contest on April the 23rd over Chicago by the final of 4-1. They would then go out on the road the very next day, Sunday, April the 24th, and pick up a 5-4 victory in the shootout over the hated Vegas Golden Knights. Always great to see the Sharks beat Vegas. You know, just great to see a Vegas team get an L, period. So, yeah, always great to see that happen. After that victory against Vegas on the 24th of April, they would have a day off and, of course, play what would be their final home game of the 2021-2022 NHL season against a division rival in the Anaheim Ducks. The Anaheim Ducks handing the Sharks a loss in their final home game of the season, beating San Jose by the final of 5-2 in that one. The Sharks then would close out the season with back-to-back games on the road. One game, of course, being at Edmonton on the 28th of April, which they lost in overtime 5-4 to the Edmonton Oilers. And they would, of course, take a loss in their final game of the season the next night, Friday, April the 29th, as they would lose to the expansion Seattle Kraken by the final of 3-0. And, just thank God, finally, that this disastrous season's over with for the San Jose Sharks. Don't really know how much more some of us could have tolerated things at this point. So, yeah, obviously no quest for the cup for Team Teal this year based on their performance. But we'll go ahead and one last time take a look at the final regular season standings for the Pacific division of the NHL Western Conference. That, of course, saw the Calgary Flames clinch the division with a record of 50-21-11 for a total of 111 points. The Edmonton Oilers finished second and also ended up clinching a postseason berth with that second-place finish with a record of 49-27-6 for 104 points. The Los Angeles Kings finished third and also clinched the playoff spot with a record of 44-27-11 for 99 points. And that's, of course, the last team from the division that will be playoff bound. Everyone from Vegas down is not going to the postseason. The Vegas Golden Knights finishing up in the fourth spot with a record of 43-31-8 for 94 points. The Vancouver Canucks finished fifth with a record of 40-30-12 for a total of 92 points. Your San Jose Sharks finished off the year with a record of 32-37-13 for a total of 77 points. The Anaheim Ducks finished seventh with a record of 31-37-14 for 76 points. And the expansion Seattle Kraken in their first year in the Pacific Division, in their first year period in the NHL, finished last in the division with a record of 27-49-6 for a total of 60 points. One last thing before we wrap up this Sharks segment, and of course this will be the last Sharks segment for a while, Again, we won't be dipping back into this bit of territory again until the next NHL season starts, since obviously the Sharks won't be involved in postseason play this year. One of their longtime own, finally deciding to call it a career after being drafted all the way back. Seems like it's long ago. 23 years is kind of a long time in sports, you can say, regardless of the sport. Sharks legend Patrick Marleau announcing his retirement back on May the 10th. Sharks franchise icon spent parts of 23 seasons or parts of 21 seasons donning teal. He retires as the NHL's all-time games played leader. Patrick Marleau, a San Jose Sharks legend, one of the top players in the history of the National Hockey League, announced on May the 10th his retirement from the game after a 23-year career. From humble beginnings as a boy growing up in Humboldt, Saskatchewan, Marleau ascended to the NHL as a 17-year-old phenom. He proceeded to author one of the most remarkable careers in NHL history, culminating on April the 21st, 2021 in Las Vegas when he played in his 1,768th NHL game, eclipsing the record held by one of the game's most iconic legends, Gordie Howe. Howe had became the NHL's record holder on November the 26, 1961, when he played in his 1,000th NHL regular season game. Marleau concludes his playing career firmly entrenched among the top players in the history of the NHL, as evidenced by his rankings on the league's all-time list. First in games played at 1,779, 23rd in goals at 566, tied for 7th with in game-winning goals at 109, 50th in points at 1,197, and 81st in assists with 631. With the Sharks franchise, Marleau ranks first in nearly every offensive category, including games played at 1,607, goals at 522, points at 1,111, power play goals at 163, shorthanded goals at 17, game-winning goals at 101, multi-goal games 67, and shots for a total of 3,953. He also ranks second in assists at 589, 8th in penalty minutes at 481, and 8th in points per game at .069 minutes, or at .069 in a minimum of 200 games. Incredibly, he scored at least one game-winning goal against every NHL team he played against in his career, and that includes, of course, during his time away from the San Jose Sharks, except for the Vegas Golden Knights, who didn't enter the NHL until the 2018-2019 season. Marleau's retirement officially ends his consecutive regular season games played streak at 910, which places him 5th all-time and was the NHL's second longest active streak. The veteran forward had not missed an NHL game he was eligible to play in since April 9th of 2009. Marleau was, of course, originally selected by the Sharks. He, of course, earned the nickname of Mr. Shark, Mr. San Jose, when the Sharks picked him with the second overall selection in the 1997 NHL draft, and he made his NHL debut that year on October the 1st of 1997. At 18 years, 6 days old, Marleau became the youngest player to make his NHL debut since 1945. That season, Marleau finished tied for 8th amongst rookies in games played, while also ranking in the top 10 in several offensive categories. He appeared in 74 games his rookie season, and over the next 22 years, that would be the fewest number of games he would play in a full 82-game season. Of the 385 players to ever don a Sharks uniform for at least one regular season, Marleau has played alongside 265 of those San Jose Sharks, or basically almost 70% of the San Jose Sharks that have played in the 30-plus year history of the franchise. Over the next 2 decades, Marleau continued to add to his hockey resume. On December 12, 2006 at Washington, Marleau appeared in his 672nd NHL game to take sole possession of the first place on the Sharks' all-time franchise game list plate, surpassing Mike Rathje at 671. On January 17th of 2010, he appeared in his milestone 1,000th career game to become the first player to play all 1,000 career NHL games in a Sharks uniform. He was the first player from his 1997 draft class to reach 1,000 games and is the third youngest player in NHL history to accomplish the feat at 31 years, 124 days behind Dale Horachuk, who was 30 years and 306 days when he accomplished it, and Vincent Damphousse, who's also a former San Jose Shark, at 31 years, 110 days. Had there not been a work stoppage during the 2004-2005 season, Marleau would have been the youngest ever. He collected his 500th career NHL goal on February 2nd of 2017. His 600th assist came on November 8th of 2018. His 1,000th and 100th NHL point was on November 21st of 2015. He was selected to play in the NHL All-Star Game 3 times during his career, 2004, 2007, and 2009. On October 25th of 2019, he became the 7th player in NHL history to appear in at least 1,500 games with one franchise. On December the 12th of 2019, versus the New York Rangers, Marleau and Joe Thornton became the first pair of teammates to have appeared in 1,600 regular season games and play in the same game together. Including Stanley playoff games, Marleau amassed 1,974 career games, 195 playoff games, which is second only to Mike Messer's 1,992 total games. Marleau is also just one of 13 NHL players to skate in at least 23 seasons and is one of 14 players in NHL history to play in 4 separate decades, the 90s, 2000s, 2010s, and the 2020s. His 195 Stanley Cup playoff games are the 23rd most in NHL history, and his appearance in the playoffs in 20 different seasons is tied for the 3rd most. In the postseason, Marleau has recorded 127 points, 77 goals, 55 assists, and ranks tied for 14th all-time in playoff goals and tied for 49th in playoff points. Internationally, Marleau played for the gold medal winning Team Canada in the 2010 and 2014 Olympics, represented Canada in the 2014 World Cup of Hockey, where they also got a gold medal, and has appeared in 4 World Championships, 1999, 2001, 2003, and 2005. So congratulations to one hell of a career to Mr. Shark, Patrick Marleau. And, of course, that wraps things up here on the Sharks Recap on A's Fan Radio. And that is, of course, the last time you'll see the Sharks Recap here on AFR until the 2022-2023 NHL season gets underway later on in the year. On that note, hey, if you didn't get a chance to answer it, your time's up, because it's now time for me to read off the responses to the fan question of the night, if there are any sitting out there. We always try, of course, to put a fan question of the night out there. So if you missed out on this show's edition of the fan question, hey, don't sweat it. Just keep your eyes open for the one that comes out before the next during the next edition of the show next week, or obviously if something comes up, whenever the next edition of A's Fan Radio goes down. Again, of course, you can always find those fan questions on either Facebook.com/AsFanRadio or at A's_fan_radio over on Twitter. Looking like, as far as things go here, we only have one response to the fan question of the night for this edition of the show, and that one response is over on Twitter, and it came from our good friend Vitamin D at @2legit_to_quit_cat out there on Twitter. His response, of course, being, although it's only a preliminary yes recommendation from BCDC staff, it's good momentum. A no recommendation would have put the project on life support ahead of the vote. So thank you to Vitamin D for at least being the one response we get to the fan question of the night out there on this one. I guess I'll take the blame for that because, again, of the fact I normally try to get them out, initially around 5 p.m. or earlier than that. Ended up not doing that day because, like I said, I wanted to take a little bit of a breather in between doing the bear raid and doing this. So I'll try to get back into posting up the fan question a little bit earlier ahead of the broadcast, so that way it gives folks enough time to do that. But again, we always try to have a fan question up there for y'all to respond to on every edition of A's Fan Radio. So make sure to keep your eyes open on future editions of the show for the fan question of the night. Those roughly go up on Facebook and Twitter, usually about 5 minutes. The initial post sometimes will go up at 5 p.m., sometimes earlier than that. Try to retweet it a few times, but then we also put out another post to remind everyone about that, usually about 5 minutes after the show begins. As always, for the latest information pertaining to your number one source for everything and anything on your Oakland Athletics, be sure to check us out over on Facebook.com/AsFanRadio. Like us over on Facebook at Facebook.com/AsFanRadio. You, of course, can follow us over on Twitter at A's_fan_radio. If you missed any of our shows or want to just check out other content, maybe check out a past edition of the Bear Raid that you missed, you can catch those over on our YouTube channel, which is linked right there. If y'all hurry up and increase our subscription numbers more, I can change that URL to youtube.com/channel/AsFanRadio, but until we hit the required number of subscribers to do that, it's going to be that mumble jumble of letters and numbers and whatnot that you see as the URL right there and now. And, of course, as always, our live show broadcasts go down right here on twitch.tv/AsFanRadio, and that is, of course, where you can catch the next edition of the show, which, of course, will be show number 308, which is slated to go down next Thursday, April the 19th at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, right here on twitch.tv/AsFanRadio. That means, hey, finally time now for my final thought of the night, and pretty much if you caught the Bear Raid earlier, you're going to be getting pretty much a repeat of the final thought that I gave over there on that edition of the show earlier the day. First off, before that, as always, thank you all as always to all of you out there that tune in and catch us week in and week out here on A's Fan Radio, and shout out, of course, to those of you that sat through not just this broadcast, but the Bear Raid earlier in the day. It's always appreciated when y'all tune into both of the broadcasts that we do on our doubleheaders. I just want to take this time to, let folks out there know that if you're dealing with on and off depression, don't be scared to talk to somebody out there, friend, family, individuals that you consider to be family, maybe someone out there on social media that you've gotten to know over the years that damn near feels like family, that you feel confident enough to discuss that with and not worrying them about them, dragging you down or adding to it. and that's regardless of what, it is, on and off depression, constant depression, don't just let that shit sit there and bottle up inside and drag you down. Talk to somebody about that. It definitely helps alleviate a lot of pressure. It may not fully take the pressure off, but it definitely helps alleviate that. And, for those of you out there going through it, I can relate to y'all. I've been basically dealing with on and off depression damn near every day since my aunt was murdered nearly 2 years ago on July 20th of 2020. But I'm just thankful as hell to have not just the very supportive wife that I do and the very supportive family that I've always had, but I'm always, of course, as well thankful for that, inner circle of friends that I consider family, friends that I've known out there from A's games and other various sporting events, and, even some of y'all out there that, have chopped it up and checked on me here and there in the 2 years nearly since my aunt was murdered, just to make sure that my mental state is still there. I'm not going to lie. It is really, I have my good days and my bad days. I have days where it's just minor. It goes away, goes by kind of quickly. I have days, though, where that depression kind of lingers there almost like a cloud hovering over the Oakland Coliseum. And it is what it is. Hopefully, as time goes on, and the years go by, maybe it, gets a little better, but, you never know. But again, as somebody who's dealing with it, like I said, don't hesitate to reach out to those close to you and talk to somebody about it. It will definitely help alleviate some of that pressure off y'all. So, yeah, hey, you ain't alone out there. Your legally 5150 corporal is going through it too, y'all. So definitely, again, those of you out there, if you're suffering from on and off depression like I am, or just, any sort of depression, again, don't hesitate to reach out to friends, loved ones, those you consider family, or anyone out there that you feel comfortable in regards to talking to that stuff about with, to help get a little bit of pressure off your mind. As always, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to your number one source for everything and anything on your Oakland Athletics since 2003. On behalf of the rest of the cast here at A's Fan Radio, I am the legally 5150 Corporal Oaktown. Y'all take care and enjoy what is left of your Thursday night. The views and opinions of our cast, our guests, and our listeners are in no way, shape, or form affiliated with the Oakland Athletics or Major League Baseball. Good night, Walter Haas. Good night, King Al. Whew, man, I'm not shocked that your son's getting called out for certain things as of late. Many of us suspected and kind of figured that was going to eventually come in time. Yeah, not shocked by that at all. And, of course, good night, Chesty Puller, to wherever you are out there looking over the Marines of the past, present, and those that are dumb enough to want to become Marines in the future, I guess you can say. Again, thank you all, as always, for tuning in. Thank you to all of you, again, that watched both A's Fan Radio and, of course, the Bear Raid earlier in the day today. I'm about ready to get back and enjoy a little bit of rest and relaxation, along with taking some Z's and getting some rest tonight, in between, obviously, editing the YouTube and full versions of not just A's Fan Radio, but the Bear Raid broadcast as well. So take care. Y'all be safe. Enjoy the rest of your night. Rap before you tap it. Don't drink and drive. All that same old crazy crap I used to get told on every single safety brief when I was in the Marine Corps, because we want to see y'all right back here next Thursday night when show number 308 of A's Fan Radio comes at you here on twitch.tv/A's Fan Radio. Until May the 19th, good night, Oakland and beyond. And as always, be sure to stay Oakland, my friends.